Hello, it's Duke from Intimacy Liberation Army. It's Tuesday, December 20th, and today I'm talking about um, feeling your energy levels in the club, anchor sets, and feeling like people are going to laugh at you. I had a call yesterday with one of my one on one clients, and he is going back out in field again. He got a girlfriend for a while, and she was like really putting him down. She had her thumbs on his life, and he's feeling really um, constricted. So he finally extricated himself from that situation, and he's going out every night trying to go bring his social skills back up. And one of the things that I have him on, which is a plan that's almost um, it's it always works, right? Like there's many different ways to attack social skills development, to attack game, to attack whatever. But the thing that always works is systematic iteration. It's probably one of the slowest processes you can do, but it's something that you're always going to get results with because you can always see your progress no matter how slow it is. You can always learn the lessons in real time with real world understanding. And so the basic concept is like from 20 years ago in game development, what these guys did, what they would go out every night and they would try something specific, and then they would try it a bunch of times so that they could figure out what kind of responses they were going to get. And then they kind of write down all those responses. They write them in these things they called field reports. It was like these little blog posts in the Usenet groups. And then the other guys would look at the field reports, give them suggestions, and this is what I would do, and here's what I would try. And a lot of it was horse shit. Uh, there's a lot of big egos in the Usenet groups at the time, and there was just all these weird, fanciful ideas on how human interaction works, and that a lot of these things weren't kind of research based, but they'd go out and try them. And then when I first started, I started sending my field reports into. I was with the RSD forums, and guys would be like, "Oh yeah, that didn't sound like it would work. Try this, try this, try this, try this." And then every time you get something that works, you kind of write it down. It becomes part of your style, part of your thing, and then you move on to the next level. And so you can start from, I'm going to a place I'm unfamiliar with and I can't talk to anybody because I'm nervous. So you can start there, and then you end up with like, oh, I'm dealing with this situation with these multiple girls who are trying to fight, with each other, and manipulate me, and all of these things, interpersonal stuff you can get from there to there pretty consistently, as long as you don't stop and you continue to try to fix the things that you keep running into rather than blaming the external environment or blaming the other people in the in that space to allow yourself to quit, right? One of the biggest problems I see with any sort of self development, whether it's social skills or money or career stuff, like guys will or people will come up against an obstacle they're not used to, and then they go, "Oh, that obstacle is insurmountable because of this limiting belief system," and then they just choose not to do any work to surmount the obstacle. They can't go over the obstacle. They can't go around the obstacle. They can't go under the obstacle. They can't obliterate it. They just assume it to be there and stop because, like, oh well, I guess that's my limit, and it gives me an excuse to not try and not feel disappointed and whatever. So the psychology behind it is really, when you're kind of leaning out into the unknown, no matter what it is. Like there are people who are super poor, who just haven't adopted good mindsets for money management, so they, continue to be poor. It's not even necessarily like a false belief system. It's just a different paradigm than people who are constantly out there trying to hustle, trying to make things work. And it's not impossible. Like some of the stupidest people I've ever met have started businesses, and they're just relentless, and then they start to make money because they're not particularly intelligent. They're not particularly applying themselves in an efficient manner, but they don't stop. They put their eye on the goal, um, whether it's kind of like a fake it till you make it type situation where they where they put their eye on a goal that is ridiculous, but they continue to believe it, beyond all points of sense, or that they make a really solid plan and then they execute and then they trust in the process of the plan to get them to where they want to go. The the result's the same. Like they're gonna get where they're gonna go because they don't accept that the obstacles are gonna stop them. And there's so much in the YouTube, Instagram, motivational hustle culture thing that says, okay, well, don't ever stop. Every failure is a brick in your wall of learning, and if you fail, it's not a failure. It's just a lesson, right? Like, yes, those things are true, but if you're constantly running into the same failure and learning the same lesson over and over again, chances are you're not learning it. And you're not using your creative imagination, no matter what your capacity is for that. You're not using your creative imagination to try to surmount the things that are in your way, to surmount the obstacles. I was watching Tony Robbins on a TEDx or TED stage, the original TED stage, and he was talking. He's like, the only thing that's in your way is your limiting beliefs because human potential is so unbounded and whatever. And he's like, what's something in their way? And then one of the guys, like, because all the TED speakers at the time, they were all like this elite group of entrepreneurs and business people or whatever. The guy's like, the Supreme Court is in our way, and it's it was kind of funny, but at the end of the day, many of the people that come to me for coaching, they don't have the problems of running multi-billion-dollar corporations and dealing with whether or not the Supreme Court is going to make a monopoly ruling on their thing. Their problems are much smaller, like, oh, I don't take action because my mom would disapprove and I have these weird family enmeshments. Like that's a completely different thing. And so while I probably can't help your Supreme Court problems, I can definitely help you peer into your life and figure out some of the things that are holding you back that don't need to be holding you back anymore. Anyway, so the idea of progressive iteration, right? When you're dealing with fear, if you're in the spot where you're just afraid to take action, or you're afraid to move, you're afraid to jump, failure to launch, like if you're in that space, then you definitely need to kind of jump into the deep end and figure out whatever mental machinations necessary for you to get yourself into the actual real world. And the idea is not to bravado, like, yeah, fuck fear, because like it's always going to be there, but you don't necessarily want to eradicate. Well, you absolutely don't want to eradicate fear or any of those, trepidation or cautiousness or whatever you want to call it. You don't want to eradicate that. You want it to still be there, but you want to be effective in the face of it. Like you're always going to have fear. You're always going to have roadblocks. You're always going to have suffering. You're always going to have human bullshit come in. You're always going to have things outside of your control trying to screw your whole system up, right? But your success as a person with goals is going to be your ability to encounter these situations, feel those emotions, and then execute anyway. And then behave as the person that you want to be anyway. That's the high end goal of all this stuff. There's a lot of things I don't worry about anymore. Like I don't worry about eating, right? When I was younger and I was jumping from stupid job to stupid job, I was worried about like, top ramen or nothing or whatever, trying to pay rent, trying to put gas in my car. And I've kind of transcended that thing. Not because I'm so much smarter or so much better or so whatever, but I have systems in place that allow me to get my needs met on that lower Maslowian level that it's not even an issue for me anymore. It doesn't mean that the things don't come up where I'm facing debt or I'm facing an issue financially, but the level of problems that I can attack over the years as I've created experiences and and gotten comfortable with the reality of the world, those things don't stress me out like they used to. I'll always have an issue with trying to make sure that me and mine are taken care of and fed and whatever. But I'm not crippled by the thought of being unable to purchase food for the day, right? Doesn't mean that it's not a viable problem in everybody's life. It's just I've kind of transcended the for that being my biggest problem. I have much larger problems now as I become more capable emotionally and materially. So the idea of the progressive iteration is like you're always going to get there if you continue to be relentless at doing the things that you know you're supposed to be doing in the vein or in the mindset of the person that you think you ought to be to achieve that thing. It's you're always going to get there. And generally, from what I've seen in my own life, I mean, I'm not telling you how to think, but what I've seen in my own life, I whenever I get there, I always set a new goal. It's not like a big celebration, like oh yay. Like one of my first goals when I first started working in corporate America was I wanted to get a Mercedes, and that was my target, right? So I just worked, saved up money, worked, saved up money, and eventually I got this thing, right? And every day I was like, I had my eye on this vision board that I had created for myself, and I, had the car, and I was like, all the accolades of getting the car, and then I ended up getting the car, and it wasn't that big of a deal as far as like because I felt like I deserved it. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm so blessed beyond all measure. No, it's just like I had fucking worked my ass off. Here it is, natural fucking result of what I had done. Kind of proved it to myself, and then next goal, right? Next thing to move on, and it having the goal was kind of a fun propeller to move forward, make more money, be higher status in the company I was working at, and it was kind of a natural result of what I was doing. I kind of knew that it was going to come to play, right? And that's I posted this thing on Instagram a couple of days ago. It was like the core of manifestation is action, and so many people came in to correct me. They commented on my little I don't know. Instagram's got this new feature where you leave like a status kind of, and then people get notified. Anyway, they were like, no, intention is the power of actualization. Intention is the power of manifestation. I'm like, yeah, kind of. Like if you listen to Chopra and like all these people, like yeah, like your solid, clear intention is the exact thing that makes things manifest. Great. Except for if you're not going to even act in that direction, your intention isn't solidified. That's how I look at it. Like yeah, like I don't want to make things cling to a certain concept, make things be a certain way. Like my next windfall of money is it going to be specifically in the way that I designed my business thing to be, or is somebody going to come along with an opportunity that I haven't thought of before and that I can jump on and let that money manifest in my life? That's fine. Yeah, that's cool. But like if I'm just sitting on my couch, not talking to people, not interacting with people who could give me an opportunity like this, then I don't necessarily think I mean the intention as much as I think I do, right? Like, I think that action trumps everything when it comes to. It doesn't mean like the actions that you take are going to be successful in the way that you thought they were going to be. Like the universe, God, whatever the fuck you want to call it, has a sense of humor in being able to give you kind of what you want, think, need, and desire. Because, like, if we could just tabula rasa ourselves and stay away from all our trauma and limiting beliefs, then we can manifest fucking anything we want to. But that's not the case, and we're systematically doing cycles to try to break that down and see results that match the real world. Second concept is the idea of progressive iteration on something is that you're choosing to be a part of the process. If, like I said, it's very, very inefficient to just like bang your head against the same things over and over and over again until you get through it. But if you make a decision to do that and you cut off all of the other options and you're like, I am going to fucking execute this thing and I'm not going to stop till I get this result, you will always get there. until unless you die in the meantime or something. Like, but the only reason you're not going to get there is you're going to stop. Now, you can fucking text me and send me all these YouTube comments or whatever and be like, oh no, dude, like, you're not always going to get what you want, no matter what you're yeah, I know, right? Perhaps you have a goal that you don't actually think you can reach and you're shooting for the stars. Perhaps it's not going to turn out the way that you want it to. However, if somebody else has achieved the thing that you're looking to do, especially if there's like courses and steps and strategies on how to get things done, like make money, talk to girls, like the normal like health, wealth, love main things, like these things have been iterated over and over and over and over, and forever. My roommate's doing weird shit. But forever, people have been doing this thing where, like, people in the 1800s were trying to get the attention and woo their women and get status in their environments and make money. Like, they have solutions for these things all the way up through. Like I said yesterday in the coaching video, I was like, look, like you could take psycho-cybernetics or all the Napoleon Hill stuff or the early Tony Robbins stuff, and that's like the basis of all self-help or like pop psych. Like it's like there's not a lot of new concepts under like visualize, actualize, setting your intention. Like that guy Neville Goddard, he's been around like he was in the 30s or something, and I guess he's got recorded stuff, so it's probably in the 50s. But he's saying these things about being fully invested into your intentions that people are just re-saying now in new spins ways. It's not a bunch of new concepts. Basically, we've all been dealing with this shit, the same problems, same desires, the same human drives, the same stuff. And yeah, you get a lot of nuance as we move on through the world. Like attachment theory wasn't a big thing till like fucking 10 years ago. But at the end of the day, you still have a whole bunch of things that you have to do to get from one place to another, and we've had through all of humanity, we've been trying to get these things done, and as we progress as humanity, we get more sophisticated, but it's not like the answers aren't there. It's not like you can't figure out or find a model of somebody to follow and create your own path in the same vein that they did. Like it's dumb, right? Like the barriers that you have are not insurmountable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there's a common theme of the humans that go through our dating coaches. I work right now, I have my own content business, but I also work for live events with a team called Limitless Mentoring. And basically the whole idea is to eradicate all of your limiting beliefs and get you to do all the things that you never thought were possible, right? To expand your fucking mental horizon so much that you can't come back, right? That's Limitless's entire vibe. And I was there at the inception of their company. We were driving through all of these stuff, deciding what we wanted to teach, and in all of our live events, it's always the same shit. The guys come in, a couple of girls too, but Limitless mostly serves dudes. The guys come in and they talk about all their problems, that they don't have any power. They feel like they're powerless in creating a change or creating any sort of transformation. So then they come in and they tell us all this shit, and then we ask them questions about what those limits mean to them and where they got them from and da 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 da. And probably 85% of the time it leads to some sort of childhood formative experience that put limits on them, or a significant relationship before they were 12 that their uncle made all these expectations, or their mom, or their whatever, and they work through that stuff. And once they kind of realize that those things aren't true, then they look for truth outside of that. And we have a lot of mentors on the team that can lead them out of that and give them viable examples to fill those holes with. And it's great, but it's not like fucking rocket science. These people think that they suck because they are powerless against the real world. And they can put that demon's face on anything, whether it's, their work doesn't give them enough time, their fucking physical appearance doesn't give them enough traction, or whatever it is. They feel like it's out of their control, so they don't bother to try to surmount that obstacle. And so one of the methodologies that really supports the whole iteration thought process is that if you can find your way around the obstacle, then you have progressed, right? You've succeeded. You've made a succession, right? From where you were before to where you are. And as you see the reference experiences in that new succeeded state, you can't really go back on an identity level and be like, oh, no, that's not true. It doesn't exist. I'm limited by this. Like, you can't, because you've experienced it on the other side. You know it's possible. And so sometimes you'll fall back and you'll forget and you have to relearn the lesson again. But as long as you kind of dedicated into moving forward in that path, you're constantly going to be surmounting the obstacles that are placed in your way, whether it's internal, whether you kind of project it out in there, or whether it's something that you didn't know about the world that you're learning, right? Yeah. So you take on this thought process of just like, I'm just gonna get it, no matter what form it takes. I'm gonna be the person that can surmount all of these obstacles, jump all of these hurdles, get through all of these barriers to get to the point where I kind of imagine myself to be. And universally, you kind of like change your expectations as you go through, because you realize in reality it wasn't the ideal that you had before. Like, a lot of the guys will come in and they think that dating is like this finite thing. They think that, oh, if I learn the right lines, if I have the right conversation, if I build my stories correctly, if I can show my personality and calibrate in just a particular way, then I'll be able to date anybody I ever wanted to. And at the end of the day, that's not true, right? Like, because there's another human involved. Like, even if you have all that stuff technically correct and your emotional intelligence is super awesome, the person that you're trying to date may be unavailable, may have something that you didn't catch or you didn't see. She might have some trauma that doesn't allow her to date guys like you. That you don't know. Like, there's a bunch of different variables that we can't control for, because there's a whole other human in the process that has their whole other complications and limiting beliefs and systems of doing things. And so they come in and they realize that, like, oh, I am effective. They build out all their like insecurities. They're like, oh, like, that's not actually true, or this is true, but it doesn't affect it the way I thought it did. And they get all that stuff happening. So then they get confident in their ability to go out and meet new people. But they know, after experiencing the reality of the world, that they don't have control over some things, and that's okay. So then they move their goals to things that are more meta or more interconnected, rather than sort of a myopic, like, oh, if I don't hook up with this one girl, then my life is over. Like, okay, great. So yeah, you're going to move your goalposts in a while, but as long as you're dedicated to the process, you're going to become a master of the process itself at some point. Like, it generally does not happen as quite quickly as you want it to. When I started in content creation and business, like, I thought I was going to make a shit ton of money right away and be able to kind of hack the system. And I didn't listen to anybody when they said, oh, you got to test and know your audience. And no, I'm just going to put content out and see what happens. And I ended up with 500 videos done that had nothing to do with the people that were listening to me. They didn't care, because I didn't do any of the research. I refused to kind of match my content to the real world. And so I got the results and learned the real world application to what I was trying to do. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. I walked into my first jiu-jitsu class after going to I was a competitor for Hapkido, which was like a Korean. it's like an offshoot of Taekwondo, but it has more stuff, throws and groundwork and stuff. And I was competing there, and then I moved to MMA and jiu-jitsu, and I got into the jiu-jitsu class, and I thought I was like, oh man, everybody, they're not. I'm gonna get my blue belt in under a year. I'm so fucking badass, whatever. But then, I had to see reality. Like, I got on the mat and I faced down my first college wrestler, and then I had to go back to the drawing board with literally all of my thought processes because the strength and the explosiveness of this person was so uh, pronounced that I had no tools to deal with it. And eventually, it actually took me 3 years to get my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and by the time that I had gotten it, I didn't care how fast or how long it took me. I was just part of the process. Like I'm in this for life basically, and I'm still slogging through it. I'm halfway through my purple belt promotions right now, and like when am I gonna buy my black belt? I don't know. 3, 4, 5 years from now. I don't know. But like I still go to the gym all the time. Still work on my craft, work on the stuff because I've changed myself from being somebody who wants to have a certain thing, like oh I want my black belt, I want my instructor certification, because that will give me status and that will give me whatever. But like everybody with a black belt around their fucking hips from any reputable school, like they can kick your ass. And it's not they can kick your ass because of some weird YouTube trick they learned, some like fucking upside down Darce Anaconda, whatever. No, they just been getting their ass kicked for 10 years, and they've seen every little thing along the way. They know how to respond to almost everything because they've seen it over and over again, gotten defeated by it over and over again, and they just figured out a way from their instruction and from the training partners that they had. They figured out a way to surmount those obstacles and then become victorious. Like there's no magic bullet to get yourself a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You just have to get smashed for fucking years. It's just how it is. And same thing in dating life, same thing in public speaking, same thing in most of the things that I've taken on. Like you just sort of submit yourself to the process. You can have an ego about it if you want. You can be a student. You can be professor frame. You can do whatever the fuck you want with your brain to keep you moving forward. But at the end of the day, you are still going to class, getting smashed in the mat, learning little micro fucking idiosyncratic things that will allow you to get better with your game. Same thing with dating. Like you go out, you date a girl, she fucking drives you into the fucking ground, and then you're like, okay, well, what I do wrong there? Where are the waypoints? Where did she not trust me? Where did I not trust her? What did I miss? Like, you figure all this stuff out, and then you fucking go through the obstacle over and over and over and over and over again. The problem with most humans is, I forget where the stats come from, but they say the most males, they only have 6 sexual partners their whole life, like on an average. And I forget where it comes from, so I could be way off. But like, you don't have enough experience to have mastered any part of that process. You just kind of like take what everybody says love should be or whatever, and then you kind of like apply it, and then you find somebody who doesn't like piss you off too much, and then you can marry him, and then that's it. That's your life, right? And not necessarily a bad way to go. Like, especially if you stay married and you have some sort of happiness, somebody's fulfillment, somebody to support you. That's cool. But like most people don't do what it takes to really understand themselves and then really understand how they work in the dating marketplace and how they work with the emotional intelligence to deal with another human being and their problems and being able to attack things together. Like they don't work on those skill sets, so they never get there. And then divorce rates at half. I'm not saying that fucking lack of emotional intelligence is the be all end all of why people get divorced, but I am saying that it's got to be a factor. So I think that one of the most important things you can do in almost any endeavor, I mean, yeah, get good mentoring, yeah, get good coaches, kind of cut off the learning curve so you don't got to make stupid, dangerous decisions that are going to fuck your whole life up. Yeah, get good coaching, get good mentors, do whatever, but if you dedicate yourself to the process with a coach and a mentor to get through the obstacles, then you're going to be much better off when it comes to actually achieving the thing that you ever wanted to achieve in the first place. So, one of my clients, he was talking the other day, he's like, I feel like I don't belong in this, in the environment that I'm going into. Like, I feel like, I'm tired and everybody's like energy levels at a 6 and I'm like at a 3, and I know I can like amp myself up to like be at a 7 for a little bit, but it just feels inauthentic, and I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and right. And yeah, sure, he's got a point on the, you're not always going to be the same energy level or whatever, but he's thinking too narrowly on it. I talked to him. I was like, look, like, do you want to surmount this obstacle or are you not? Are you dedicated to being able to operate in this environment even when you're tired, or is the answer to just go home, go to sleep, avoid the fucking club for the night, and be okay with the fact that when you're tired you don't perform well? Like, that's fine. So, like, what's your problem? He's like, no, I want to be able to perform well even when I'm tired. I was like, okay, well, that's the right mentality. Like, if in any of this stuff, like, you're gonna reach limits to where you don't want to deal with things anymore, right? I used to think that if I was dating a girl and she was suffering some mental health problems, that I needed to become some sort of expert on all of her mental health problems, and have all the right, evidence based things to deal with so that I can make her journey along life much easier, as if I was some sort of therapist rather than, a boyfriend. And I learned after a while that yes, it is possible to go super deep and deal with all of her problems in a evidence based continuous positive regard kind of way. But it took something out of my ability to have a relationship and feel supported myself, because I was busy being the support all the time. And so yes, it's possible for me to go out and go do that, but I choose my limits, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm just not gonna date people like that anymore, right? I'm gonna filter them out early, and but the things that I learned dealing with those people were intensely valuable in dealing with more people of that type in real life, like not in a dating scenario, like in the wild, where I got friends who have all sorts of mental health issues that I have no problems being a container for and setting good boundaries with, and helping out. But I just didn't want that in my dating life, so I stopped moving down that thing. But I don't have any question in my mind that that was the right thing to do, because I did it, and I tried a bunch of different things until I figured out what could make me whole in that space. And so, it's perfectly okay to kind of shut off a route and not become a master of a certain thing, even though you were playing around with it for a while, as long as you kind of know why you stopped. And it's not just some sort of excuse that is fear based, because if that happens, then you're gonna always look back and second guess, like, oh well, what if, what if I'd have tried harder, what if I'd have worked more efficiently or something, and maybe I would have gotten better results. Okay, cool. Well, get rid of that. Like, go do it enough to figure it out, and then once you figure it out, be okay with the fact that you made a decision in real life, like against real things. The second thing with that is, oh yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the second thing with that is, if it's something to do with fear, then you can always get over it. Like, you can always like bang at it enough to where you have a strategy that you've either gotten from a mentor or gotten from the internet or YouTube or whatever that works for you in that space, and then you always have that tool in your tool belt that helps you with your self-esteem, your self-worth, because you're keeping your promises to yourself. Like, you're going to do the hard things because you have the weapons to deal with those things in real time. But getting over that fear and being able to manage the fear, manage the anxiety, manage the stuff that comes up, makes you a better operating human in that environment, and it kind of spills over into other environments with the similar types of anxiety. I don't know how, I can't quantify how much my public speaking and my networking has increased by my ability to talk to random girls. Like I studied that for years, and I fucking just went out and try, and I'm super witty in real time. Like it was something I had gotten from kind of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of social interactions. Just being able to respond well without having to think, just kind of like flowing with the thing and responding well. And then now in networking type stuff, where I'm meeting other men and we're talking about business stuff and like creative. I'm trying to distribute some of the stuff for my music career stuff. Then I'm talking with these guys who are kind of players in that industry, and like they appreciate the social savvy, uh, the ability to be quick, be quick witted, to respond well. That it came directly from practicing talking to girls for years. I just have it like, and so a lot of that stuff will spill over. Any other fears or self esteem issues that might come from your competence in a particular social space, they start to get eradicated the more times you do it over and over and over again. So back to the iteration thing, you can knock out fear pretty quick, and you can test your actual skill sets to and tweak them and modify them until they become better. Like you're actually better at it than you used to be, skill wise. Um, and like I said, it might take years. Like you might be super lonely, and you might never, you don't want to wait 2 years before you can get yourself a girlfriend. Great, but it's not like you don't get little successes along the way. Like if you start, like I think Owen says this, he was talking about like game is one of the things that it pays off on the way through. Like it's not like med school where like if you stop in the middle, like you don't get anything at the end. Hey, like if you start going out and meeting new people, you're gonna get dates, you're gonna get partners, you're gonna get big social groups that you can hang out with, you're gonna get introduced to new people, you know, you're gonna get connected, and whether or not that's your ideal connections or whatever, that's what you continue to strive for and continue to work for. But all along the way, you're going to get all these new experiences. It's really important, I think, to the end goal is to really understand the territory. I've talked before about this map is not the territory thought process. Uh, the territory, the closer you get to the actual things that go on in the world, the better you understand that flow, better you understand that vibe, the better you operate in it. Like if you know the rules of the game, all of them intricately, then you can play the game better than anybody else. There's some skill set you got to do, but whatever it is, like whatever game, fucking Mario Brothers or whatever. Like if you know exactly what happens when you hit the button, how far the guy jumps, how what the dangers are with the weird fire pit timing or whatever the fuck it is, right? If you know all of that stuff, the closer your mind can come to the reality of the rule set in that game, the better you can play it because you know all the options that are available. Like it's systematic. It's the same thing here. Uh, if I know that I'm going to offend somebody and I don't know how to back out of that offense, then I'm going to be worried about what I have to say. But if I know how to back out, assert who I am, as well as be sensitive to the needs of others, because I've done that over and over and over again, then I'm not going to be walking around like wondering if what I'm going to say is going to land right. I know that if I make an overstep, and I've done it thousands of times, that I can always kind of move back or apologize and get my social esteem and rapport back. Like I know that on a high percentage of times I can do that. So I don't really care about what comes out of my mouth. And as a result, also, because I've done that over and over and over again, what comes out of my mouth usually isn't uncalibrated and weird. So, I think that having those iterations, having those reps in that system also gives you like this sort of untouchable experience, like this small little idiosyncrasies of experience. Like you have a higher, like all of it's kind of, your knowledge base is kind of filled in rather than if you just read some book or listen to some guy's course on the overview of it all. You've had like deep, granular experience in all that stuff. So, I think that's it. I think that's what was on my brain today. We were talking about iteration and what's it called? Progressive iteration. It's kind of a throw from progressive desensitization, where people, if you're going to get over fear or phobia, they would just like expose you to higher levels of the thing that caused the anxiety until you were comfortable and used to it. And the more you do stuff in a progressive way, like obviously it's not like just go out every night and that's it. Like you got to like set goals that are moving more towards the goal, right? Um, but if you continuously do that, you're eventually going to get there. And like I said, it's slow, it's ineffective, it's inefficient, but it is consistent at your ability to get there. And then from a base of consistency and your ability to step to the next level consistently and be able to see your progress consistently, then you can add on tools that are going to make you more efficient at it, right? Journaling is obviously one of those things that I always push forward. Like, if you can't see your progress, it's really hard to be satisfied with your results, right? So you can kind of write shit down. There's also, having a mentor, having a group of peers that are along the same journey of you. There's exact tactics and strategies from people who are masters or gurus in the field. Like all of those things are useful, right? Like if you want to go make more than 30K a year and you need to go get better skills, and you go learn from somebody with those skills, and then you follow their path to get a decent job doing it, or you start your own company doing stuff, whatever. Like you're gonna just keep pushing forward, and you're gonna if you add some of these like efficiency things, like good strategies instead of trying all the bad ones first, or getting a mentor that can kind of guide you through a particular strategic process that will get you to your results faster. Sure, yeah, it's great. But if you build that on a basis of I'm going to get there no matter what. It's just a matter of time, and I'd like you to help me get there faster. That's going to be a lot better for you, because I don't know how many of the people in my cohorts in my business development groups. I have a couple of business mentors, coaches that I hired so that I could get good at making money on the internet. And so many of the people who come in and train with me, as students, they're my peers. They'll just give up, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like we hired these people so that we could win. Like, so you can't leave until you win. Yeah, and it's because they don't have that consistency mindset. They don't have the mindset of like, I'm gonna get there, come hell or high water. I'm not gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, get to my end goal, whether or not this particular obstacle tries to raise its fucking ugly head. Like, I'm just gonna keep doing it. And the guys who are in, or the humans that are in the program, my business programs with me, the people who are successful are the ones who just keep executing. That's what the coaches are there for. Like, they execute and it doesn't work the way it should. Well, you ask the coach, okay, you've been here before. Why does it look like this happened? And the coach will be like, oh yeah, well, that looks broken, that looks broken. You could have said this better. Your copy editors could have done this, whatever. And then iterate and then keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, those are the ones who are making money. Those are the ones who are fucking pulling profits out of thin air. Whereas the people who quit early because, oh, well, I ran into this obstacle and this system doesn't seem like it's going to jump the obstacle for me, so I'm just going to trail off and quit and come back later when I'm feeling more emotional strength or whatever. Great, cool, but you're not getting anywhere because you're not progressing. So I think it's important to set this base of like, I'm getting there, this is my identity, boom, move forward. And then from that base, get things that are a lot more efficient and add to the experience along the way. Those are my thoughts today, Tuesday, December 20th. Preparing for Christmas this week. I heart all of you. I'm going to go to Universal Studios tomorrow, so maybe I will shoot a video at some cool exotic location in there. Most likely it'll be a late night video coming after I come home. But See you guys tomorrow. And until then, stay awesome.